What up, Salvador Brigman here. Welcome back to Life of Freedom YouTube channel. On this channel, we talk about achieving more success in your life, and as a result, more freedom, unlocking that potential, which I believe that we all have as human beings. So when it comes to, whether that's success, when it comes to financial success, when it comes to your wealth, your happiness, even your relationships, success when it comes to your fitness, etc. I want to talk about all of that on this channel because I think this is so incredibly important to you. I think it makes so much sense that, sometimes we don't feel that great about the life that we're living, and it's because we know that we are capable of more. And that's really what I focus on in this YouTube channel. And particularly in this video, I'll talk about how to build an organization. This is gonna be for people out there that not only wanna build an organization so that they can earn more money, so they can build their wealth, right? So they can build an organization, whether it's a business organization, a nonprofit, a religious organization, whatever it is. But it's also so you can help more people. More that you can actually understand some of the code and principles that we talk about today when it comes to building an organization, the more successful you will be in the long run. I obviously do as well a lot of business coaching around this. So let's get into it right now. Let's get straight into the video. All right, brother, how do you build an organization? Okay? Now, this is really, my gosh, this is such an elusive concept, I think. And it's because there just isn't really a lot of good information out there about building an organization. So I'm gonna think about it, I'm gonna kind of, address it in a little bit different way than some of the other business coaches out there in the world. And the reason is that I think that having a visceral understanding of this is great, but really intellectualizing it and actually understanding from a scientific perspective is gonna be much more helpful for you so you can understand it from a step-by-step framework. Okay, so let's first start of all, what is an organization? Well, first thing is that I would attribute the number one characteristic to an organization is that an organization is organized. I know, profound, right? Organization is organized. Who would have thought that? Who would have thought an organization is organized? Once you start to understand that, the simple fact that an organization is organized, you begin to actually ask the most important question of all, which is, okay, well, how do I organize it? And a lot of the times when you ask that question, it might be like, oh, business structure, right? Corporate structure you're talking about. No, not talking about that. I'm talking about the actual organization, the map of this actual hierarchy, the map of this organization, the map of the team, the map of how this thing works together in order to produce a particular output, okay? So first of all, an organization is organized, one key important element. The second thing, when it comes to understanding what an organization is that an organization always has some kind of an output, okay? It's a system, okay? It's a system. It's a system that's designed to have some kind of result or some kind of an output. So when I talk about, systems, I actually have systems that I've developed to help you when it comes to achieving more success in your life. Systems that I've developed to understand yourself, to decode your mind, to decode and understand what it is that you were put on this planet to do, right? Many different systems that I've developed. An organization is really just a system that's designed to have some kind of an output, whether it's a corporation, and maybe the output is rendering particular services, helping and providing cash for shareholders. What is the system designed to do? So you need to focus first on the system in order to understand what goes into the organization. Okay, so we're gonna build a little bit of an organization here, and you can do this a little bit as well if you want to at home. So there's what I call, first of all, the bones of an organization, okay? There's the organization, kind of what's filling it, right? And then there's actually the sort of the connective tissue. So we'll kind of get into a few different elements here. So the first is the people, okay? So we're just gonna have a very simple hierarchy here. One person here. It's just for simple sake, we're just gonna kind of do this in more of a traditional fashion, okay? And maybe there's a couple of people underneath this individual. So we're just gonna have an organization, and there are many different types of hierarchies here. So the first step in building an organization is to understand, I'm gonna put this in different colors so you can begin to take notes, right? The first step is to understand organizational hierarchy, okay? And there are different types of hierarchies. So some hierarchies are very strict like this, and maybe within that organization you have different departments. You have like sales and you have marketing. Sometimes departments are much more cross-functional, right? And you have people that are even in multiple departments to a degree. So when you have an organization, you have some kind of a hierarchy. So you first want to think about the hierarchy, okay? Now, these are all individual little people, right? These are all people. It's very easy to forget that. All people, okay? Now, when it comes to this, understanding how to build an organization doesn't start with that individual, it starts with their role, okay? And their role is dependent on their job title. So we're gonna say here, job title / role. So you're gonna have your job or role title. So when it comes to the organization, it's all organizations are made of people. However, people is not the connective tissue. It's the same thing like I said with bones, right? So you can have a bunch of different bones that are here, but without the connective tissue, they're all gonna fall apart, right? So the people and the roles are what are enabling this organization to have some kind of an output, right? So let's just say, for example, we'll take Apple, right? Or we could even have another example, we could have Tesla, right? So this organization maybe has different roles. Some of these roles are related to just the product, developing and manufacturing, designing that product. Other roles over here maybe are related to actually producing that product. Other roles over here are related to marketing, designing the graphics for all their incredible brochures or whatever it is they're trying to do, right, in their showrooms. So you have marketing, you have sales, dealing with customers, customer service, etc. All these different little roles make up what the organization is delivering to the customer. So you first have to understand this very important part, which is the roles that make up the particular organization. If you don't understand this, you don't understand what goes into those roles, for example, the responsibilities and the duties, it's almost like you're trying to put together something just in a visual sense, and it's very hard to actually structure the thing. So this would be a hierarchy. You want to put together an organizational hierarchy, first thing. Next thing is around particular outputs. There are other things which we'll put in this other color here so you guys can see. You have to understand team structure, okay? Team structure. Why is that? Just because you have a marketing department does not mean that everyone is on the same team, okay? They may be in the same department, but doesn't mean they're on the same team or on the same project, for example. So for example, with taking Tesla, right? So let's just say there is one project, one team that's devoted just to the website, and another team that's devoted to maybe more of the marketing that happens in their showrooms or marketing that happens when you go into the actual Tesla store, okay? That's an example of two different teams, and you maybe have similar roles on both of those teams, right? So maybe, for example, I'm just gonna come over here. Let's just say that for that team, and I'll put this just in a square box here. You have one team, right? And this is all about the website, right? And you have different people here that are occupying this team. These are just faces, we'll just say, right? So you have maybe like an IT person, you have a graphics person, you have a copywriter, you have someone who's doing email marketing, maybe you have someone who's doing this, doing that, and these are all part of a team, and they're from different departments. So maybe, you know, the IT guy is in the IT department, and maybe the marketer is in the marketing department, and this other one is a product knowledge specialist who's in the product department, right? So different departments form teams, you following here, and these teams have some kind of work output, right? And that's the beginnings of understanding the difference between hierarchy and teams. So when you're creating these teams, it's so incredibly important because that's actually what's leading to the actual work output of the organization. And you maybe have other people that are actually managing or understanding these teams or doing quality assurance or quality performance of these different teams and also the output that they have, right? So let's talk about organizational hierarchy, which is one of the beginning parts. We talked about team structure. However, just having all these different people is not enough to build an organization. Now here's a good example. Let's just say that we're gonna take a mental trip, okay? We're gonna take a little bit of a school trip, a field trip, okay? You're on a field trip with me, man. And you're gonna just imagine what it's like to be a caveman, okay? Back in the day, back in 10,000, 20,000, 100,000 years ago. I think that probably around 10,000 years ago, we could say is pretty much caveman time, like the early humans started to come about. When they started to form things, right? They started to actually maybe have a team environment, right? Where they were trying to hunt together or do something. That's great. That's amazing. However, let's just say all of a sudden, all those people that were hunting and had all that knowledge, they unfortunately got eaten by like woolly mammoths, we'll just say, right? What happens to the next generation of hunters? They have to learn the same stuff again. And the next ones, again, if the same thing happens, right? So it's not just about roles. It's not just about hierarchy, because from one generation to the next, you can't build on the success of the previous generation unless you have a missing component. And this is really, if we're getting on a high level here, where society comes into play, which is that with society, we have things like laws, rules, structure, policies, institutions, right? Things that are designed that over time get better and better, and that we have writing in order to record whether what's happened in that particular organization, what's happening with different laws and ordinances. We have different written records. We also have verbal knowledge, which we pass on through videos, etc. Right? We have different things we need to know, like if we're setting up a new town, right? We have to do zoning, and what is the checklist, right, related to zoning and those kinds of things. So there's a lot of what I call connective tissue, okay, that connects all of these different pieces, and you don't really see it from the outside, but it's something that's happening on the inside. So we're going to use this blue arrow. So you kind of want to think of it almost as that there's all of this like connective tissue that's actually holding this entire organization together. Okay, so we talked about the bones, right, and such, and like the things that are being created. There's this connective tissue that's holding this whole sucker together. Now, what is the connective tissue? The connective tissue is things that are like SOPs, they're checklists, okay? They could be other things such as policies, okay? They could be other things such as trade secrets. It could be systems that are internally, etc. What are SOPs? SOPs are what are known as standard operating procedure documents, okay? SOPs are like, you know, if I was going to go out there and I was going to onboard a new client, these are the steps that I would go through, right? This is the standardized set of steps that you would use in order to onboard a new client, or these are the standardized steps that you would need to go through in order to allow someone to buy a new Tesla. You have to make sure you check their credit, you have to check their background, you have to do this, you have to do that, right? Those are the SOP guidelines explaining what you have to do. So that information is codified. It's out of the head of any one person, and it's in the organizational archives, okay? Which I'll get into in just a second. So we have this connective tissue, which is formed by SOP documents, you know, standardized documents, checklists, forms, policies, trade secrets. Policies are basically ways or guidelines, if you will, almost like laws within a company or organization. So our policy is to do this. When was that policy last edited? When was it last revised, right? The policy is your general guidelines for behaving in a certain way or treating a certain circumstance in a certain way. What are some of the policies that we live in? Are laws, right? We have certain laws which we must abide by, which are basically policies, you know, as well as other kinds of policies, even as United States, which is an organization that we need to follow when it comes to dealing with international countries, right? Trade secrets, forms. So forms would be things that you would input in order to store information, right? Trade secrets are things that you know that other people don't, that you've spent a long time figuring out, right? So all of these things hold together the connective tissue, but it's still not enough from here. This is still not enough to really form an organization. So we're going to add one more thing. When we talk about an organization being organized, I'm going to pull this over here. An organization is all about what I'm about to mention, okay? Which is file structure, okay? And we could expand it to say archives. Now, why is that important? That is important because let's just say that we were trying to recreate Tesla, right? We're trying to recreate Tesla. Well, it's really hard to recreate Tesla from scratch if you don't know anything about Tesla, right? Now, let's just say we knew everything about the role structure of Tesla, all the people that you need to work there, all the people that you need in order to function in this company, this organization. Could we recreate Tesla? Well, no, we couldn't, because there's a lot of other information that those people just don't know, or that they passed on and maybe left that job and went and got another job, right? And they left that information, they took it with them. So there's a lot of information that's lost if you just have people. Now, let's just say that we had access to SOPs, checklists in one massive folder, right? Policies, trade secrets, everything that went into Tesla was this huge archive, right? Would we be able to recreate Tesla? Not really, because it's too disorganized, right? Way too disorganized. So file structure and archives are actually one of the most fundamental parts of any organization. And I teach this, obviously, in my business coaching. File structure and archives, so important, because in order for us to really recreate Tesla, the more we have a functioning, organized file structure, where every part of the organization, we have the people, we have the SOPs, checklists, policies, trade secrets, we have the hierarchy, all of a sudden it actually becomes a lot easier to recreate the organization, right? And to get things going really, really quickly. Otherwise, you have to build all of that, Does that make sense? In the same way that, for example, like with organization, let's just say of a tribe of some sort, let's say a new tribe that they've discovered this new way of method of organizing labor, right? So they have really great technology and they have everything written down and they have these different roles, they have structure, right? And they have things that are assembled in files as well. Anyone can go there and they can look through, they can actually understand the blueprint to the organization. They can see the different laws, the different policies of what to do. Someone who's like a new ruler can go and see that, and they can even have people that they're working with, and they can maintain that kind of way of running that particular tribe, or move in, right? And even change different policies and change the way that things are done. So when we begin to talk about file structure, organizational hierarchy, team structure, SOPs, this finally begins to get at the root of an organization, which is an organization is organized. Right? It's organized. There's an output and there's a system, and there are more variables as well that go into this. So the way to build an organization is to go through this and to assess what you have and what you don't have. And there's obviously more to it, but the most important thing is to understand that this is 100% possible, even if you've never built an organization before. I had an epiphany one day, which was that, and I have a lot of those, but I had one day, which was that no one person can really change the world. And even if you think about it, like, for example, a writer, I'm a writer and I'm a teacher, and no one person can really change the world, because even if I had the most profound ideas, I need help from someone else to invent the writing system. I need help from someone else to come up with and invent paper for me to actually write those ideas and record those ideas down. I need help from someone to invent a really great pen that I can use and I can write this down and codify this knowledge. I need help from someone else to actually broadcast this out there so everyone knows about this, right? No one person can change the world. And that's the way that humanity was built. If you think about this role system, let's just expand this a little bit. Think about one brain, okay? And this is a strange way of thinking about this, but really just the more open-minded you can be, the more success that you're going to have, honestly. So we'll just say one person. One person is maybe good at some things, right? So they'll say good, strengths, we'll just say pros. They have some different pros here that they're really good at their skills. They have some good different things when it comes to their aptitudes. And they have some things they're just really not good at. And their success is only going to go so far, right? That brain, that individual, we could draw like a brain here on this person. It's only going to take them so far. It's because it's really just one piece of what we call humanity, one piece of what we call all these different people on this planet. But if we kind of link them up to this person and that person, right? And this person, and this person, and this person, right? And let's just say that all these people have different skills, right? So we'll say P and C, they have different skills, aptitude, things that they're good at. Maybe some people are designers, some people are programmers, right? Some people are good at writing, some people are good at sales, et cetera, et cetera. All of a sudden, you're creating almost like a hive mind, okay? And they can contribute their own unique skills, experience, things they're good at, et cetera, ways of thinking to solve problems, to create outputs, right? And it becomes like this one massive brain, right? I know it's a strange analogy, one massive brain. And everyone is adding to this in order to create one incredible output. And this, my friends, is the type of products that we look at and we're like, I think an alien made this. Like we look at an iPhone, it's like, that's like so incredible. How could any one person do that, right? Or you look at the pyramids, it's like, my gosh, the aliens look like they made those things, right? It's because we've had the power of an organization, power of many different people, many different brains, many different personalities working together to create one output which is greater than the sum of the parts and greater than what any individual could do. So I guarantee you, if you've made it to this point in the video, not only does it behoove you to learn this, and you can learn more about my coaching, etc., where you can learn this, but also I guarantee you, you are selling yourself short, right? Anyone has the ability to master this process. And what I want to ask you is, as a leader, where are you capping your potential? Because I think you're capable of so much more, right? I really think that in order to unlock the full potential that you have available, you have to be willing to invest in your mindset. You have to be willing to invest in your education. You really have to be willing to put yourself first and invest in yourself so that you can have a massive impact on the world. If you can lead the masses towards a positive direction, my friends, you benefit all of humanity, right? So it's so important to me that you receive this message. And if you did receive it, give me a thumbs up on this video and let me know, and leave a comment down below that you like this video. But also, if you want to take this training another layer deeper, and you really want to understand yourself, your limitations as a leader, ways to increase what it is that you can have to be more effective in a scientific way, I have a great course out there talking about decoding your mind to understand what is holding you back, to understand the steps you must take in order to become the best version of yourself. And whether that's success, for example, with wealth, success when it comes to your business, your career, or even success with more personal things, your happiness, your relationships, these different elements of your life that we just don't really talk about as business owners, this is something you should definitely check out. So make sure to go and check out my course down below, Decode Your Mind. I also have a book out there about unlocking your potential. But this is a quest. This is a journey you must embark on. And if you made it here, maybe it's time, this is the first time in your life, to really make that claim, to take that responsibility to do something about it. So I hope that you join me on that quest and on that journey. My name is Salvador Brigman, and I will see you next time.